Welcome to Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. Today, $69 for my own head, the Chalmers Museum Debacle.
Welcome, one and all, to another uproarious episode of Skinner and Chalmers Weekly Roast. We're your hosts, Seymour Skinner, and the ever-tolerant Gary Chalmers.
They're slightly ominous, and today, dear listeners, we're about to unearth a tale from the not so distant past, a story involving a certain trip abroad, a principal with perhaps too much time on his hands, and a certain king of games who shall remain well. You'll find out.
Oh, this is gonna be good. I've been waiting for you guys to tell this story. It's one of my all-time favorite Memfield memories, and it's nice to be with you on the podcast.
Indeed, Yugi, welcome to your home. Today's narrative takes us back approximately 6 years, to a time when Gary ventured across the seas for what he hoped would be a period of professional development and serene contemplation of educational policy.
Denmark, I had such high hopes for that trip. A superintendent training program, you see. I envisioned structured learning environments, insightful discussions on pedagogical strategies, and, of course, indulging in copious amounts of authentic Danish pastries.
Sounds like a real thriller-minute adventure, Superintendent. I bet the pastries were good, though.
While Gary was off expanding his superintendent horizons in the land of Vikings and pastries, Yugi and I were left here in Memfield, alone, with a significant amount of unstructured time. You know, that's not a good sign.
That's what I was afraid of. Unsupervised Seymour and Yugi. It's a recipe for whatever it is we're about to discuss.
Hey, we're responsible adults. Mostly. We were planning on being productive, right, Skinner?
Absolutely, Yugi. Our initial intentions were quite noble. We discussed tackling some long overdue household projects, perhaps finally getting around to cleaning out the attic, or maybe even attempting to decipher the instruction manual for that self-folding laundry contraption I bought.
You were going to clean the attic? Seymour, that's even more surprising than the rock organizing plan from last time. What prompted this sudden burst of domesticity?
Well, boredom can be a powerful motivator, Gary. But as you might have guessed, our lofty ambitions soon took a more creative turn, thanks to a certain individual's penchant for the theatrical.
That's my cue. So, we were sitting in the living room, right? Just kind of staring at the ceiling fan, trying to figure out how to entertain ourselves while the superintendent was off having all that educational fun. And then it just hit me.
Oh dear, here it comes, I remember.
I said, "Hey, Skinner, you know what would be absolutely legendary? We should totally turn Chalmers' room into a Chalmers museum and make it public."
A Chalmers Museum. My personal sanctuary, transformed into an exhibit dedicated to me. This is bordering on the narcissistic.
Well, at first, Gary, I must admit, I was a little taken aback. It seemed ambitious, even for Yugi. But then, the more we discussed it, the more I began to see the artistic merit.
Artistic merit. I was thinking more along the lines of pure, unadulterated hilarity. But artistic merit works too.
It was an opportunity for highbrow satire, Gary, a playful commentary on your unique contributions to the Memfield educational system. And let's be honest, it sounded like a much more entertaining way to spend our time than dusting the taxidermied badger.
My taxidermied badger is a cherished family heirloom, and my contributions to the educational system are not to be mocked.
Oh, we weren't mocking, Superintendent. We were celebrating your Chalmers-ness, your charming state.
So, instead of dismissing Yugi's rather unconventional proposal, I, perhaps unwisely in retrospect, embraced it wholeheartedly. The Chalmers Museum was officially in the planning stages.
My faith in your judgment, Seymour, continues to erode with each passing anecdote.
And so, the transformation began. Over several days, Yugi and I dedicated ourselves to meticulously converting your private quarters, Gary, into a veritable shrine to you.
Meticulously? That's even more concerning. This wasn't just a slapdash prank, was it?
Oh no, Superintendent. We went all out. We're talking full museum, quality ridiculousness.
Our first order of business was the grand entrance. We felt it needed a certain gravitas, and what better way to achieve that than with a monumental representation of the museum's namesake?
You're talking about the giant Ed again, aren't you?
The one and only. We managed to procure this enormous Chalmers foam head. I think it was originally intended for some kind of mascot. Costume, and with a bit of paint and some creative sculpting, we fashioned a truly inspiring likeness of your face, Superintendent. A big Chalmers head.
We positioned it right in front of your bedroom door. Anyone wanting to enter the Chalmers Museum would have to quite literally walk through your head. We even cut out a rather generously sized mouth hole for easy access. And a carpet serving as your soft, pleasant tongue, of course.
Skinner, we have kids listening to this podcast.
Yeah, Yugi.
Walking through a giant replica of my own face. That sounds less like a museum and more like a particularly bizarre carnival funhouse.
Details. It was all part of the experience. Next up, we needed to showcase your unique way with words. Hence, the Hall of Superintendent Quotes.
We dedicated an entire wall to displaying some of your most memorable pronouncements. Gary, we used large, brightly colored lettering to really make them stand out.
I have a bad feeling about this. Which quotes did you immortalize on this wall of shame?
Oh, the fan favorites. We had Aurora Borealis in massive, sparkly letters. And, of course, the PACD resistant steamed hams. But it's a museum. We even framed that one.
We included a small footnote explaining the context of the steamed hams, quote, referencing your unforgettable luncheon with Principal Wiggum. We felt it was crucial for historical accuracy.
Principal Wiggum. I thought we were having Principal Skinner.
Anyways, my private dining experiences are now historical footnotes in a fabricated museum. This is an invasion of privacy.
Think of it as preserving your legacy, Superintendent, for future generations. And what's a museum without a lifelike representation of its subject?
Precisely! We managed to acquire a rather convincing wax figure. It was slightly shorter than you, Gary, and the hair was perhaps a shade too enthusiastic, but the resemblance was passable.
A wax figure of me? Where did you even get a wax figure? Where did you get the money for that with budget cuts and all?
Let's just say Memfield has some surprisingly well-stocked prop shops. We dressed it in your usual superintendent attire, the slightly rumpled suit, the perpetually askew tie, the bald head, and positioned it prominently in the center of the room.
We even placed a small velvet rope around it to give it that authentic museum feel. And, of course, a plaque.
Not another plaque. What did this one say?
This one was classic. It simply read, "The man, the myth, the superintendent." Profound, wouldn't you agree?
We thought it captured your essence perfectly, Gary. And to further enhance the museum experience, we felt a change of seating was in order.
You replaced that awful floral armchair, didn't you? The one with the suspicious stain.
Nope. We went full museum bench. We replaced your comfy, cloud-like bed with a long, hardwood wooden bench. The kind that makes your back ache just looking at it.
You replaced my perfectly good mattress with a tortured device disguised as furniture. I was looking forward to a proper night's sleep after that grueling travel schedule.
Well, we figured museum patrons aren't really supposed to sleep in the exhibits, Gary. It disrupts the flow. And speaking of flow, we felt your closet needed a more official designation.
We slapped a big, official-looking label on it that read, "Restricted Access. Staff only." To add an air of mystery and intrigue.
My closet is now off limits. What was about my clothes? My collection of meteorological, them ties? My emergency stash of yip, whoop wine?
Don't worry, Gary. We carefully curated a selection of representative items to display inside. For educational purposes, of course.
And then, because every self-respecting museum has one, I insisted on adding a gift shop. Right near the doorway, naturally.
A gift shop in my already overcrowded bedroom. Selling what? Exactly, little Chalmers plushies, Chalmers pencils, Chalmers t-shirts, Chalmers Funko Pops.
Oh, the usual museum fare. We had Chalmers branded coffee mugs featuring your most iconic quotes, naturally. And limited edition Aurora Borealis. Snow globes, the snow was just glitter, but hey, it sparkles just like Sparkle Dog.
His favorite food is what?
It's a can of sparkle, of course.
Right, Gary. And yes, we even had a selection of miniature foam heads. Perfect for displaying on your desk, perhaps. And a Xiaomi punching bag.
Miniature foam heads, a Chalmers punching bag. This is descending into utter madness.
And the PiyarSquare assistance of the gift shop, my literary masterpiece. How to be a superintendent. It's a comprehensive guide filled with invaluable insights and creative interpretations of your leadership style.
Yugi even included a chapter on the proper technique for enjoying steamed hams. It was insightful.
My own bedroom, transformed into a bizarre monument to myself, complete with a gift shop selling unauthorized merchandise. I don't know whether to laugh or cry.
Definitely laugh, superintendent. We put so much love and questionable decision making into this.
With the Chalmers Museum ready for its grand opening, Yugi and I began to strategize the perfect way to introduce our creation to its unsuspecting namesake.
I had a very bad feeling about this whole grand opening concept.
We needed a proper unveiling, a moment of dramatic tension, and that's when the idea of the admission fee struck us.
We felt it would add a certain exclusivity to the experience. Gary, make you truly appreciate the cultural significance of the exhibit.
You charge me to enter my own room, after I had already endured a transatlantic flight and a questionable in-flight meal.
Well, not exactly you initially. We printed out a very official-looking ticket booth sign complete with a poorly drawn picture of your face and taped it right outside your bedroom door. It read, Chalmers Museum entry fee $69 and no refunds.
We thought the price point conveyed the high value of the experience.
$69. For this travesty. Why did I have to pay $69 to enter my own room?
But wait, there's a special offer we told you. We also added a little clause. Superintendents enter free if they correctly recite the entire school budget report from memory.
You expected me to remember the entire school budget report. I can barely remember where I park my Honda half the time.
We thought it was a reasonable request, Gary, a true test of your administrative prowess.
And to ensure that museum policy was strictly adhered to, I set up a makeshift ticket window right outside your door. I even borrowed Skinner's old marching band uniform and a pair of his darkest sunglasses. I felt very official and slightly intimidating.
You were dressed like a band leader, demanding money to enter my own bedroom.
Maintaining order and collecting revenue, it's all part of running a successful museum. And oh my, did it run well.
We were all set, Gary. Yugi in his impressive attire, me lurking nearby with my camera to capture your reaction. The anticipation was almost unbearable.
While you two were preparing your little ambush, I was finally arriving home, utterly exhausted from my trip. All I wanted was a shower and my own comfortable bed. I headed straight for my room, eager for some much-needed rest.
And that's when you were confronted by the head, the giant foam head of Chalmers.
Your reaction was truly a sight to behold, Gary. You stopped dead in your tracks, just staring at this enormous, slightly lopsided replica of yourself. Your jaw practically hit the floor.
I honestly thought I had gone to the wrong house, or that perhaps the Danish pastries had some unexpected side effects.
Then you tried to open the door, right? But I swooped in, all official and pointed dramatically at the entry fee sign.
Yes, this oddly dressed individual with the oversized sunglasses blocked my path. He thrust his hand out, demanding $69.
You were understandably confused, Gary. You kept asking what was going on, why your head was blocking your door, and who this strange gatekeeper was.
I thought I was being accosted by some kind of bizarre home invasion crew.
Home invasion of cultural enrichment.
Yugi and I were doing our best to stifle our laughter. We could see the confusion swirling in your eyes like a particularly turbulent weather system.
I demand answers! I wanted to know what in the name of Superintendent Chalmers was happening, but you two just kept smirking and pointing at the ridiculous sign.
We were building the drama. The grand unveiling was imminent.
Eventually, Gary, the exhaustion seemed to win out. You just let out this long, weary sigh, and then you actually reached for your wallet.
I was too tired to argue. I just wanted to get inside and get some sleep. So I reluctantly handed over $69. 69 hard-earned dollars? I muttered something of this better being the most enlightening museum experience of my life. I was not amused, not one bit.
Kai Ching, museum coffers officially full.
And with that, the grand tour commenced. As you bravely stepped through the gaping maw of your own giant foam head, Gary, we had some suitably dramatic music playing. I believe it was the theme from that old geology documentary you enjoy so much.
You even coordinated the soundtrack.
We thought of everything. Atmosphere is key in a museum.
Our inaugural exhibit was The Evolution of Chalmers. We had a meticulously curated display of photographs spanning your entire life, Gary, from your awkward teenage years to your more distinguished present.
What kind of captions did you put on those photos?
Oh, they were very informative. We had gems like young Chalmers' attempts to understand algebra as spoiler alert. He didn't, and Chalmers perfects the art of the disapproving stare.
Then we moved on to the centerpiece, the wax figure. You approached it with a mixture of curiosity and apprehension. Gary, you kept circling it, muttering, "Why does it look like I've been left out in the sun too long?"
I reassured you, Superintendent. I said it was so lifelike, even the real Chalmers couldn't tell the difference.
It had this unsettling, vacant stare, and the suit looked like it had been slept in for a week.
Next, you attempted to access your closet only to be confronted by the imposing restricted access sign.
Yes, I desperately needed a change of clothes. That airplane air conditioning is brutal on the sinuses.
But inside, instead of your usual attire, you discovered a treasure trove of Chalmers-themed merchandise. Mugs, snow globes, my literary masterpiece.
Yugi tried to convince you that they were highly sought after collector's items. He even offered you a special museum patron discount.
He tried to sell me my own belongings, rebranded as museum souvenirs. That's when the penny finally dropped. I realized this wasn't some kind of elaborate misunderstanding. This was a prank. A very, very elaborate prank.
You were catching on. We could practically see the gears whirring in your head.
The PiyarSquare assistance, Gary, the moment of ultimate realization came when you finally went to lie down on your bed.
Yes, sweet, glorious rest, I thought.
But alas, instead of your plush mattress, you found a long, hard, unforgiving wooden museum bench.
A museum bench, in place of my orthopedically designed sleeping apparatus. That's when I finally lost it. I turned to you two, who were now practically doubled over with laughter, and demanded, "Where is my actual room?"
You mean the Chalmers Museum?
No, I mean the room where I sleep, the one without the wax effigy in the gift shop.
We could barely speak, Gary. Your righteous indignation was glorious. That was. It was hilarious.
I face-palmed so hard I think I saw stars. I let out this enormous sigh, the kind that could deflate a hot air balloon, and muttered, "Of all the ridiculous things you two could have done, this is the most elaborate and, frankly, the most insane."
And I, with a flourish, declared, "We call it art."
Yeah, what do you think, Superintendent? Pretty groundbreaking, huh? We even got a $69 donation to the Chalmers Museum Foundation.
I think I needed a very long nap, preferably not on a wooden bench.
But then, Gary, we finally confessed. We revealed that your actual room was completely untouched, exactly as you had left it. The Chalmers Museum was just a temporary installation, a rather over-the-top welcome home surprise.
We even had your favorite slippers waiting for you, right by your real bed, all warm and fuzzy.
We led you to your actual, normal, prank-free bedroom. Well, mostly prank-free. There might have been a stray piece of glitter or two.
I was still rather bewildered, but I couldn't help but to chuckle at the sheer audacity of it all. I shook my head, a small smile finally creeping onto my face, and said, "You two desperately need to find some better hobbies."
Hey, pranking is our hobby, and we're very good at it.
And as a final gesture of goodwill, Gary Yugi and I presented you with a rather extravagant box of gourmet chocolates.
The box had a special message just for you. It said, "Congratulations on surviving Denmark and the Chalmers Museum."
Oh yeah, inside was also a little personal letter from me. You really liked it and hugged us.
The chocolates did look rather appealing. You too, I remember that box. I sighed, finally giving in to the amusement of it all. "All right," I said. "It was memorable. But next time, I'm pulling the prank."
Yugi and I exchanged a look of mild terror.
Oh yeah, Superintendent. We're really scared. Remember that time you replaced all the coffee with decaf? The horror.
It was a subtle but effective form of psychological manipulation.
We all ended up having a good laugh about it in the end, though. Even Gary had to admit that, despite the initial shock and the temporary displacement of his sleeping arrangements, it was a rather unique welcome home.
It was certainly unforgettable. It was so much fun, and I will forever remember that day. And the chocolates were excellent, by the way.
Mission accomplished. The Chalmers Museum, a resounding success.
And that, dear listeners, is the tale of the Chalmers Museum. A testament to the power of friendship, the joys of absurdity, and the importance of having a comfortable bed. Well, that brings our tale of the Chalmers Museum to a close. But I should probably mention what happened to all those exhibits.
Oh yes, I was wondering about that. Did you just throw everything away, especially that rather unsettling wax figure?
Throw it away. Superintendent, that's historical memorabilia. We carefully dismantled the entire museum.
Indeed. The giant foam head, the Hall of Quotas, banners, the museum bench, we carefully packed it all away.
We still have it all. Where on earth did you store it, you two?
Where else? Your attic. It's like a treasure trove of Memfield history up there.
That's right, Gary. And, you know, it's quite a sight. Right next to my collection of vintage living dolls, there's a rather large foam replica of your head.
My head is in the attic, next to your living dolls. That sounds like the beginning of a very strange horror movie.
Maybe we should charge admission to the attic next. The second annual Chalmers Museum Attic Edition.
Perhaps not, Yugi, but it's certainly a reminder of that special time. Well, enough for today, dear listeners. Thanks for joining us again, Yugi, and listeners. Join us next week for more shenanigans from the wonderfully weird world of Memfield.
Until then, perhaps think twice before leaving Skinner and Yugi unsupervised. You never know what kind of museum might pop up in your absence.
And if you do find yourself in a Chalmers Museum, be sure to visit the gift shop. My book is a real steal.
Farewell, everyone, and so.
Bye-bye, so.
Bye, guys. Keep on playing card games.